Nigeria-Egypt Trade Conference opens today in Cairo. NNPC to make final investment decision on $25 billion Morocco pipeline by 2023. Gold prices tip it as U.S. jobs data lifts Fed rate hike bets. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Well, let's begin the program by telling you that in a bid to encourage market integration and provide better opportunities for economic prosperity of Nigeria and Ghana, the Securities and Exchange Commission of both countries have signed a renewed memorandum of understanding. Speaking during the signing ceremony in Accra, Director General of the SEC Nigeria, Lamido Yuguda, recalled that both countries had enjoyed a long period of progressive and mutually beneficial brotherhood and partnership, with same applying to both institutions, which resulted in the first MOU in 2003. The SEC's DG stated that in the spirit of African Continental Free Trade Area (AFCFTA) and what nations in the region are hoping to achieve on a wider scale with WASRA, the collaboration will be a good pedestal for future and wider collaborations with other neighbors in the sub-region and beyond. With the revised MOU, both countries have developed a robust and inclusive document that is all-encompassing and reflective of current trends, emphasizing that the goal of the West African Capital Markets Integration Program is the creation of an enabling environment for cross-border securities transactions and the integration of all capital market jurisdictions in the ECOWAS region. And now let's take a trip to the commodities market. Now, food security is a major agenda of the federal government as Nigeria's population is increasing daily. Currently, it's estimated at 250 million. Unfortunately, the nation's food production drive is under threat as flood ravages critical infrastructure, homes and farmlands. Mr. Ayo joins me here. He's a development economist, and Shehu Muazu is the executive director, Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay, the problem of food we've seen worldwide. We've seen rising price of foods, and which is actually affecting all countries now, and also, the issue of flood has become a serious thing. If you observe lately in news, yeah. How would you quantify the loss as a result of flood? Let's start with Mr. Muazu.
So far, we can say we put our hope in God. Quantifying the losses as at now is too early, because the floods are still ravaging. Okay. But what I can tell you is, as far as production of rice is concerned, we have lost more than 60% of the farmlands.
Wow.
Because majority of the farmlands that we cultivate in Nigeria are in the lowlands. This is what we can say for today, for now.
I understand that your rice representative rice association. How has it affected rice farmers?
It has affected, I have told you that 60% of the land we cultivate in rice production is in the lowlands.
Okay.
And almost all the lowlands areas of Nigeria are today submerged.
Wow.
This is the effect.
Okay, let me bring you in. What is the implication of this?
Before we even talk about the implication, this is why countries must get serious and begin to look at how we can combat the climate change phenomenon. It is very clear that the world is fighting against a very serious phenomenon called climatic change.
Of course.
And every serious government must sit up and see how we can combat this. Our industrialization and careless attitude towards the environment that God gave us is what has brought us to this place. Today we have higher volume of water where we shouldn't have. So where we are supposed to have the ice glaciers to make the world balance, we have melted it because there is a global warming syndrome. So now this is the challenge. So now talking about how it's going to affect us, clearly from what the rice farmer who is an expert in that area is saying, if you have lost 60% of your rice, it tells you clearly that there's going to be a serious food crisis in the next agricultural cycle, because what is supposed to be invested to take care of the people for next year is already destroyed in the farms. So clearly now we are fighting against famine. This is the reality. So how we are going to do it is now what the government needs to quickly sit up and find a solution to it, because if nothing is done before we get to that cycle, I fear that whatever we think we are fighting today in terms of high food inflation and food prices will be a child's play compared to what we're going to face in the next couple of months.
So are we likely to see kind of inflation not actually going down, because a lot of farmers are expecting harvest right now, but unfortunately with the flood. So are we likely going to see?
Of course, prices are going to go up, because price is a function of demand and supply.
Exactly.
When the demand is high and the supply is less, then the prices will have to go up. But the only thing is there is always a solution to the problem. Instead of us to continue lamenting, just yesterday I'm telling you, the National Food Security, I'm aware, and the Central Bank are even at work yesterday, thinking of how do we get Nigeria out of this situation.
Exactly.
And for us farmers, the only thing we can do for now is to have 2 cycles in one dry season. So we are getting our farmers, we are already talking to them, and we are intimating them that they have to get ready. As soon as the water start to recede, the farmers along the Benue floodplains and River Niger floodplains up to Kebbi State should get ready and follow the waters. As the waters are receding, then they follow with transplanting. Hopefully by November they start to transplant, and by February we'll see the first harvest. And by the grace of God, after the first harvest in February, we expect the farmers all over Nigeria to now do their second season of dry season farming, which will commence February, and then we harvest by May. And we hope this will help to alleviate whatever shortages we are expecting from the floods.
But why must we wait until this happens? That's when we begin to take advantage of dry season farming.
We are already in dry season, and we have been doing it. In fact, it is the dry season that has helped to take Nigeria to where it is today as the largest producer of rice in Africa. The only thing is we have been doing one cycle. We did 2 cycles when we had the last floods, and it worked. The Central Bank provided us with the money, and we did it, and it worked. So even now it's going to work.
So can we actually depend on that to make up for the loss?
Yes, we don't have a choice. As he was talking, I almost felt to go and hug him, because I see people who are forward thinking. You see, when there's a problem, there's a problem.
But shouldn't we be exploring other alternatives as well.
Well,
There's other ways that you can grow crops.
He said the CBN and the farmers.
No,
and
what I'm saying is,
the CBN has been in charge of the Anchor Borrower program.
Yeah.
So it is their baby.
Yeah.
Already, what is lost as we speak now is most of these monies were provided by CBN. So for them to be working, it means they are serious. It means they understand that there is a challenge.
Okay.
So combating it is what is making me happy, that people are thinking. Forward thinking is the solution to this. Now, one of the things he said that I really love is the fact that I understand the dry season and the wet season farming, but now doing it in a 2 cycle is actually why I was very glad to say, oh, this is purely forward thinking. So you're going to have 2 dry seasons instead of one cycle. So it should make up for the loss, provided the funding is provided and people who need to do the job sit up and do their job. Yes, like you said, we're going to have a receding flood in the next couple of days and weeks. So clearly it will recede. So what we do after then is what will determine how we will either have a famine next year or we will not have a famine next year. So the whole thing now depends on those who are to take the decision. And from what he's telling me now, telling us tonight and talking to Nigerians, apparently people who are supposed to take decisions are thinking. So I pray they follow this up so that we'll be able to combat this unnecessary food inflation that will come upon us.
Okay. And what I actually wanted to say was the fact that why can't we explore other avenues? When you look at the developed countries, they have technology driving what? You mustn't go to farm. You understand?
You're talking about the greenhouse farming.
Yes.
Well, these are something that we will begin to explore over time. I know there are agencies that have been created. There's one agency called NARSAL that has been working on this greenhouse farming, but that agency has been immersed in all manner of controversies. So I think they are not doing their job for now. Probably maybe there's a need for those in charge to look at a change in system so that, because see, you can't just sit down and do what developed countries are doing. You must have a study group. You must go there. You must research what has been done. When you do that, you now look at how you can adapt, because there are different climatic situations. So you must look at what they are doing first. Then look at how our own system can adopt it, and then see how we can do what you call the pilot stage. You don't just jump into this. Already we are glad that we are having mechanized farming as it were.
We have researchers.
Well, no, I am saying that we have researchers.
Yeah.
We are. When did we even start doing this agriculture? Thanks to President Muhammadu Buhari, we were importing 97% of our rice consumption before Buhari came into power. So clearly, it will take some time. At least he has done this much for agriculture and for rice production. So I believe there must be a continuation so that other whoever becomes the next president after him is interested in agriculture. And I think some people are already talking about it. Because this is not the political program, I'm not going to mention the people, but clearly some people are talking about it. And if we continue in the light that President Buhari has started with the CBN and Anchor Borrower, but with better management of resources, because there has been too much controversy in terms of corruption and fraud and all those stories, but this is not where we are talking about that.
Okay.
But if that is done, we can begin to look at greenhouse farming and begin to look at but it is something that you do overnight. It takes a time.
Okay,
it
farmers' loan recovery. Will that affect farmers' loan recovery? Definitely. Most especially those that are participating in the Anchor Borrowers.
Definitely, it's going to affect us. You see, we need to recognize the resilience of the Nigerian farmer. When the rice revolution started, we have been hit with 3 disasters now. The first one was in 2017-2018, the massive floods. Then by 2020, we have the drought. And today we are having another flood. So the loan recovery effort of the associations will definitely be affected. And honestly, the government needs to come into this thing and look at what can be done to salvage the situation, to alleviate it. Yes. We have suffered a lot of losses. Despite the fact we have suffered, we have still been able to achieve what we have achieved for Nigeria. So I think Nigeria is the right aim for the presidency and those in government to see, okay, let us see how we can alleviate their sufferings in terms of maybe alleviate.
I would love to say something to that. I also think this flooding, some of it, yes, I've talked about climate change and everything, but there's another angle. I think we and the Cameroons need to sit down and look at how to manage their dam management. Some of this problem is also as a result of the release of their flood in the floodplain and the dam, so which is something that will be done periodically. I think we should have a technical committee to sit down with Cameroons and ensure that we find a better way of this management, because this has become perennial. It's like every two years this always happens, and it always punish our own environment, punish our farmers and people living in the lowland areas. So there should be a sitting down of a technical committee to harmonize and work on how they will better manage this release of flood water, so that we will not continue to suffer these huge losses. Because I work in the agricultural sector too, in a way, and I completely understand what the rice farmer is talking about. It's a huge challenge. Although I think some of these things will be mitigated by the insurance that I think the insurance policy still works in the
the insurance. But you mentioned of dam water released from the dam. Once water is released from the dam and it causes flood, the insurance doesn't pay.
Wow. So that means it's something the government have to look into. Yeah.
So now a flood has become in a kind of new normal.
Yeah.
So how do we do it? How do we make sure that the rice revolution continues?
Yeah, you see, what we are doing now, already we are talking to our people. Let us shift a greater part of our production to the uplands. Upland and even mountainous areas, because if rice requires water, so if you can go to the upland and form bonds where you can conserve water, you go to the mountainous regions where you can form terraces and you conserve water, you can plant rice. Terrace farming. So if you look at what is happening in the Far East, where the rice is being grown and they are feeding the whole world with it, you find out that most of their areas are not in the lowland, but in the upland and the mountainous region.
So in this area, we have to look at education, more education, especially to our farmers, to understand this, so that we can go to that
last year I was on this same program, Business Express, and I said, after the drought, that if our farmers had listened to science, the massive loss that happened because of the drought, what has happened. So similarly to this year, if we had listened to what NIMET has said and the flooding advices that were being released, we would not have gone down to the lowlands and plant. Because these things are predicted and they have been saying it. But the only thing is there is low level of education, just as you have said, because we are lacking extension workers. A lot of extension workers needs to be employed, so that they are the people that will disseminate this information. And teach these guys what is happening. They need to be taught about the issue of climatic change. Up to now, our farmers at the village level, they don't know what is climate change, but they need to know it. I'm supposed to have planted about 2,000 hectares in Gasol, Adamawa, Taraba State, but after the rain predictions and the flood predictions, I said no. My business partner went ahead and planted. He said, no, they are just talking. I said, look, science is talking, science is real.
Science is real.
And today his land is flooded. So this is
like I said, you see, I was right when I said education is a key ingredient in ensuring that we don't keep suffering this disaster.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm afraid there's not enough time to really get to talk about this. Of course, thank you very much, Ayo Oyalowo, development economist. I hope I got that right.
Thank you for having me. Ayo Oyalowo.
Yeah. Then Shehu Muazu, Director, Rice Farmers Association of Nigeria.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Now moving on, Nigeria is moving towards being one of the biggest economies in the world, and increased collaborations with economic giants like Egypt is a boost to their journey towards economic greatness. Minister of State, Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagun, disclosed this in Cairo, Egypt, at the opening of Nigeria-Egypt Trade Conference. Benny Adams reports that the volume of trade between Nigeria and Egypt is less than $200 million.
Conversations here have continued to evolve. It's actually convergence of business ideas from Africa's two largest economies, Nigeria on one hand and Egypt on the other side. And the catch is basically to showcase products and services through business-to-business interactions for exchange of ideas, and also serves as a platform for participants to explore opportunities, learn about the industrial environment, latest technologies in Egypt, as well as the opportunities that are available in Nigeria.
We're home to 5 or 6 fintech unicorns in Africa.
Every state in Nigeria has some unique competitive advantage that offers any investor the opportunity to succeed.
There are a lot of companies that we are going to kickstart, like a live signing and live into the keen into a business in Nigeria with some Egyptian company tomorrow, inshallah.
Egypt is putting our proposal on a new nexus between climate change, water, food, and security, and we're going to have a discussion on that aspect.
So I think the potentials are there, and the possibility of Nigeria bringing in palm oil in large quantity has not been made easy by the establishment of the Export Trade House.
From the venue of Nigeria-Egypt Trade Conference and Business Meetings, I am Benny Adams.
Thank you, Benny Adams. Let's now see week-end activities in the NGX market.
The NGX All-Share Index depreciated by 3.41% to close the week at 47,351.43 basis points, while market capitalization depreciated by 25.7 trillion naira. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 393.8 million shares valued at 4.6 billion naira, traded in 9,168 deals. The ICT industry followed with 48.1 million shares worth 1.2 billion naira in 1,294 deals. The third place was the conglomerates industry with a turnover of 40.1 million shares worth 44.4 million naira in 513 deals. Trading in the top 3 equities were Guaranteed Trust Holding Company, Sterling Bank PLC, and Zenith Bank, which accounted for 239.6 million shares worth 3.5 billion naira in 4,375 deals. A total of 1,667 units of exchange-traded products (ETPs) valued at 264,986.25 kobo were traded during the week in 19 deals, while a total of 4,649 units of federal government bonds valued at 4.7 million naira were traded in the week in 16 deals. 11 equities appreciated in price during the week, 46 equities depreciated in price, while 100 equities remained unchanged. Boss Sede Ebo, Business Express.
Now let's see global stock market update.
European markets were choppy on Monday as volatility continued amid concerns over economic growth and monetary policy tightening from central banks. German's DAX opened the week on a positive note, posting 0.34% at 12,312.84 points, while FTSE and CAC 40 fell 0.31% at 6,968.99 and 5,856.79 points. Shares in the Asia Pacific fell on Monday, with Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index leading losses as Chinese chip stocks listed in the city plunged following new export rules from the US. The Nikkei shed 0.71% at 27,116.11 points. Shanghai Composite was bearish at 1.66%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index also dipped 2.95%. In the US, stock futures were lower Monday morning as the markets come out of a tumultuous week, and traders look ahead to key reports coming in the next week that can offer insight into the health of the economy. Futures connected to the Dow Jones Industrial Average slid 24 points. S&P 500 futures were lower by 0.15%, and Nasdaq 100 futures also fell 0.22%. Meanwhile, the equities market was mixed in the African continent. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 and Namibia's overall index posted negative figures. Kenya's Nairobi's All-Share and Tunisia's Tunidex registered positive figures, while Ghana's GSE Composite unchanged.
Well, that's it. Business Express returns Tuesday by 9:30 a.m. Thanks for watching and thanks for your company. Do have a pleasant day.